Woodpeckers makes a very nice corner radius jig, but ultimately they're just aluminum router templates, so it should be possible to build a homemade version using just plywood. The problem is how to follow a perfect radius, so I designed this router jig to take out the guesswork. Cutting to size and mounting 2 pieces of aluminum angle, this plywood corner radius template is ready. The setup uses the bearing from a flush trim router bit to precisely guide the workpiece and form a perfect radius. I drilled out a hole on top of the router bit to show you the mechanics of everything. Once the radius cut is complete, the setup functions like a jointer to straighten the adjacent edge. And between adjusting the guide arm and the end stop, the setup can be configured to cut any radius. The elegance is in how simple everything sets up while guaranteeing precision by design. To demonstrate, I'll take everything away and show the setup from scratch. I already have the parts cut out. See the description for a link to the plans and a cut plan with dimensions. To make the guide arm, line up the edges of parts C and D. The overlap should be about 2 inches. Secure them together. Then secure part B. With this assembly complete, load up a 1/2 inch flush trim bit in your router and push this corner up to the bearing. Clamp this in place. I use an MFT router table. As a side effect, it has lots of clamping holes that are ideal for situations like this. If you don't have a suitable alternative, you can screw all these materials down to a sacrificial surface and use it as an additional tabletop for your router table. That way there's only one large piece to secure. Next, I'm taking part A. Remember to cut this chamfer here for chip clearance. Butt this up against the left side of the guide arm and use a straight edge to line it up perfectly flush with the bearing. No special alignment is needed for the right side. Just sandwich part E with part F and clamp that down. That's the setup. Now remove the bearing from the flush trim bit. It's not needed there anymore. The bearing needs to be attached to your template stock, with the distance from one edge to the center of the bearing being your desired template radius. I'm going for a 3/4 inch radius. The distance to the adjacent edge should be about an 1/8 inch more than the radius. Don't worry that it's not symmetric. The jointing action will take care of dimensioning this side as needed. Elevate the bearing with washers as necessary to reach the guide arm, and secure it with a flathead wood screw to guarantee it's perfectly centered. With the router bit lowered below the table, position the guide arm to brush up against the bearing. Rotate the workpiece to final position and set the end stop. Ensure it makes contact over the entire edge. Bring the router up to required height and proceed to cut the template. Using 3/8 inch plywood, I make 2 templates out of each 5x9 piece of material. I found that this size works very well for the dimensions of this guide. On the other side, I'm going for a 1-inch radius. Once the routing is done, the 2 templates on this workpiece can be separated, cut to size, and finalized with hardware. Best of all, not only can templates be cut to any radius, they can be made for any corner angle. Absolutely any angle. Endless radiusing possibilities.